And welcome to another edition of the European Soccer Show. Oh, how nice of you to join us. Also joining me is Leo, as ever. Bonjour, Leo. Ça va?
Bonjour Daniel, how are you?
I'm very well, actually. I've had a very chipper week. And like a maniac, I've started running because, I hate myself. Um, but that's how we set the tone of the show. We hate ourselves, and that's why we're here. Speaking of which, we're going to talk about the football, more specifically, all the matches, or rather, the biggest matches, the most interesting matches from the top 5 European leagues. We'll be looking at Ligue 1, Bundesliga, Serie A, La Liga, and of course the Premier League.
That's always funny when you say League 1.
With emphasis, at least, like League. Right. Okay. So, speaking of League, I'll stop doing that. That's quite annoying. Should we start with League? Why not? Leo was telling me before we started recording, this is one of the few weekends that he's not had a chance. He wasn't watching live League, and it's one of the few times his precious Lyon has lost. So of course the lucky Leo was not available. But let's take you through some of the results and we'll sort of dive straight into the big talking points. So on Friday night, Paris FC, a valuable win, 2-0 against Lorient as they try to pull away from the relegation zone. On to Saturday, Auxerre lost at home to Lens, 2-1. Brest, bit of a dud, 0-0. Nothing to cheer about with those Brests. Between Brest and Nantes. Metz 0, Marseille 3. An excellent result for Marseille as they continue their pretty amazing starts to the season, more or less, after a bit of fisticuffs. And then on Sunday, as aforementioned, shock result where Lyon lost to Toulouse, as you would. How did Lyon lose? Well, Toulouse, 2-1 to Toulouse. Le Havre and Rennes played out a really entertaining 2-2 draw, 2-2 there. Monaco missed the opportunity to jump up to third in the table as they drew 2-2 with Nice, who played most of the game with 10 men. Strasbourg won 5-0 against Angers. And the last game of the weekend, Lille won, Paris Saint-Germain 1. Let's start with, let's go right back to Saturday. And we're going to talk about Marseille because there have been only a couple of sticky moments for Marseille, and particularly right at the start of the season. But since then, their form has been really, really good. They also had a fantastic result midweek. I believe they won 4-0 at home.
4-0 against Ajax, yeah.
Ajax, yes, against Ajax. A really impressive result. And Igor Paichal? He scores his third goal in the space of 4 days. A really impressive Marseille performance, and they're looking quite formidable, aren't they?
Yeah, the thing is that the Marseille from the 2025-2026 season is distinguished with the depth of his bench, because last season when they made substitute, it was only they weren't good enough. Today, when Roberto De Zerbi changed something, it's always a positive substitution. So now they got 4 consecutive wins in Ligue 1, if I'm not mistaken, and with that depth of bench, it allows them to rotate the squad with the Champions League games between the.
To jump on your point exactly, because it was 0-0 at half time, and it does suggest that actually, because I think Igor Paichal scored. I think he started. I forget, but yes, also does show that Marseille's strength happened in the second half, which does suggest that the being able to bring on a better replacement seems to contribute towards that. Although it should also be added that Metz are bottom of the league. They get to win the season. They've only got 2 points, so it wasn't exactly the hardest opponent, but still, Marseille managed to turn it around in the second half.
Yeah, of course. We talked about the diversity of the players. When you see a player like Amin Gouiri, who was on the bench for the last 2 or 3 games, I don't remember exactly, replaced by young Robinho Vaz, who is a player born in Paris, but then formed to Marseille. He was a starter against Metz, so it means a lot. Like, they have a lot of possibilities, and when you substitute a young player by someone like Amin Gouiri, who had a really successful second half of the season last year, yeah, it's quite difficult for the opponent, even more when it's like a team like Metz, which is bottom of Liga, to just try to play the draw or even the win.
But yeah, I'm going to quickly shift to the table, but obviously I've given away the results already. Because Paris Saint-Germain are top on 16 points, but it's really good fun between them and sixth place. Is only 3 points, and that's not to suggest it's a six-way title race. But you've got Marseille second on 15, Strasbourg on 15, Lyon on 15. They'll really be kicking themselves that they lost. And Monaco and Lyon on 13. Out of all of those, obviously you're biased towards Lyon, is understandable. But is this potentially a real battle for second rather than first? And if so, do you think Marseille are best placed to do it rather than Lyon?
I think, Marseille.
Who's most likely, in your opinion, of the teams I've mentioned, who is most likely to give Paris Saint-Germain a title challenge?
Oh, I would say Marseille, of course, because they had the quality their quality in the squad, quality on the bench, because Roberto De Zerbi is referenced coach in the world. They got really good players. They got, as we said, the depth of squad, which is very important when you play European football. Lyon, if we remember, they are in a difficult context, in fact, a low-cost context because of the relegation situation this summer. They didn't spend a lot during the transfer window. And for them to be now fourth, because we say they are fourth, but they are just 1 point away from PSG at the top of the Liga, it's quite unreal because nobody expected them to be there more with the 2 wins in Europa League. So it's a good deal, but I don't think they will be able to keep the distance for so long. We didn't expect them to play like the title this season, but I think they will end in the top 7, but more between the 4th and the 7th place than the podium, to be honest.
So who do you think is going to finish above Lyon then? Because if you say you think they'll finish 4th, that suggests that there's another outside of Paris Saint-Germain and Marseille. You think there are another 2 teams that are better placed?
Yeah, that's difficult to say because Liga is weak, to be honest. I think Paris Saint-Germain and Marseille will be the first 2, but at third we can have some surprise, like for example Lens, who are having a real good start to the season. They won this weekend, or maybe Lille, which is this past years are always one of the teams to watch in Liga. I don't know what Monaco will do because, as we said last week or 2 weeks ago, they have difficulties. Adi Hütter will certainly leave.
Since you brought them up, let's talk about them because they've been almost frustratingly inconsistent. They've had some excellent results, but also, like this weekend, they've looked quite average. So Monaco 2, Nice 2. Nice took the lead through Diop, but then Abdi got sent off for a second yellow card in just 34 minutes, which is, I always find it crazy that players get sent off for 2 yellow cards in the first half. But despite that, they extended their lead. Diop scored a penalty before Ansu Fati also replied with a penalty in the 5th minute of stoppage time. That's 2-1 to Nice at half time. Fati scored another penalty, so he's excellent record from the penalty spots thus far. 2-2 with more than half an hour to play, and yet Monaco can't find a way past to find the lead against 10-man Nice. What were Monaco lacking? Because this kind of suggests, like, again, considering how chaotic Nice are as a team and a club, it does suggest that Monaco really should have been able to put them away.
I think they really lack a project because when you watch Monaco play, you don't really know what they are trying to do. And of course, that's difficult. We have already told that in the previous shows, but that transfer window had not been really good. We didn't understand why they recruited both Paul Pogba and Ansu Fati, given their physical conditions. Eric Dyer, I think it was a good recruit. Lucas Hradecki from Bayer Leverkusen is also intriguing because he's 35. He had a difficult season with Bayer Leverkusen. Now he's injured for 2 months. So, it's a kind of a mess. And yeah, as I told you, Adulter is.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you think
Yeah, no
that this might be because of exertion in midweek? Because during the week, Monaco drew at home 2-2 with Manchester City. So that would have been a hell of an effort to get that result.
Yeah, but they are a team used to play European football this past season, and the thing we said about them 2 or 3 seasons ago, it's the same thing. They are the same thing as we say today. So I think the main idea is to change not only the coach, because Adi Hutter is now likely to be thanks for everything he did, but I don't think he will be the Monaco's coach after the international break. We talked about Edin Terzic to accept the role in France. So yeah, they need change, but not only the coach, in my opinion, because the sporting director Thiago Scuro is already also on the move. So
are you talking about sort of it seemed like lacking distinct direction?
Yeah, that's it exactly. They need a real change in every areas. And you mentioned it. The maybe the brightest point of their season is Ansu Fati, because he's now played 5 games with Monaco, just 500 minutes, not more, and he scored 6 goals. So it's
the penalty spot.
Yeah, I think 3. I think the 2 from this weekend and 1 last weekend, or maybe 4. You're right, but yeah, it's good for him to make a comeback, because we all know what he's been through this last season, and we hope he can continue like that.
Quick word on Lyon. They took the lead against Toulouse. So through Fofana, leaving 1-0 at half time. But somehow they managed to lose the game in the last 5 minutes. Toulouse's Emerson scored in the 87th minute, and then the 6th minute of stoppage time. Lyon seemed to just shut down. They couldn't see it through, and then seemed to collapse.
Yeah, this is, to be honest, just defeat if you ask Lyon supporters or Ligue 1 just watchers. Yeah, it was something everyone sensed was coming in recent games, because when they score a goal, they try to count the rhythm of the game, having their hands on it, and you can play like that for every game. So they were up to Toulouse. They are, I think, a better team. I don't know if you saw the Fofana's goal. You can go, and it's really beautiful collective one. But yeah, I think there are problems in Paulo Fonseca's way of manage his team. Not how he trains, how he plays, but the idea of sometimes is too long to make his substitutions. Against Toulouse, he only made 1 at the 70 or 75 minutes. So when a team is already tired after all these games, midweek games and everything, you need to be able to sense when your players need to be substituted, and it's not something he did this weekend. We can say that he will be back on the bench on November, because to recall the viewers, he was suspended for 9 months, and he was in the stands for 9 months. So yeah, of course there is a context which is difficult for him, but I think it will be good for him to come back close to the pitch.
Before we move on from Ligue 1, just a very quick word on Lille, Paris Saint-Germain. Excellent point for Lille. Nuno Mendes opened scoring for Paris Saint-Germain in the second half, but the equaliser came with 5 minutes to go from one Mbappe, Ethan Mbappe, the 18-year-old brother of Kylian. There's a lot of expectations on Ethan Mbappe, and not just because of his name. He's excited quite a few youth coaches in his development, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been told that he is a good player, of course, but he suffered a lot of minor injuries these past 2 or 3 years. He's not a starter at Lille. As you said, he scored on against PSG in front of Kylian and his father, who were in the stands. So the images are fun because you can see his family cheer for him, and Kylian is the leading goal scorer in PSG history, so it's kind of funny. But to go back to Ethan, he scored the winner against Toulouse 3 weeks ago at the 98th minute. So he likes to score like winners or equalizer. But to be honest, you said it was a good result for Lille, but I think it's kind of deceiving, because when you look at the starting lineup of PSG, you can just see that.
And they are struggling with injuries, which also puts into context Paris Saint-Germain's win at Barcelona in midweek. Because Paris Saint-Germain, as good as Barcelona were, Paris Saint-Germain were missing significant players, and yet still managed to find a way to win.
This weekend, Paris had, I think, 7 or 8 rotations player on the pitch. Some really young ones who have just made their debut in Ligue 1. So if I was a Lille supporter, I would be a little deceived about this result, to be honest. Or not the result in itself, but the way my team played to have this result.
Right, before we move on, I have 2 trivia questions for you this week.
Okay.
The first one, because it's Ligue 1, assuming you don't have the table right in front of you, which team has scored the most goals in Ligue 1 so far this season?
No, I don't have the table, so let me, because I wouldn't be surprised that if it would be Lille, because I remember they scored 7 against Lorient.
They are joint third.
Okay. Marseille, they scored a lot too. Yeah. Lyon, they didn't. Paris, they didn't. That's difficult. Monaco had a lot of goals.
Monaco are the top scorers.
Yeah, Monaco had a lot of goals this week.
Also highlights the fact that Paris Saint-Germain so far this season haven't been blowing teams away, but they have been incredibly reliable defensively. Right, let us move on to the Bundesliga. We're only going to highlight a couple of matches because some big teams faced each other. On Friday, you had Hoffenheim losing at home to Köln. On Saturday, Augsburg beat Wolfsburg 3-1. Bayer Leverkusen's rebuild continues as they won 2-0 at home. Dortmund, Borussia Dortmund faced RB Leipzig, and that finished 1-1. Strange thing that the stats were almost identical for both teams. Talk about very, very even game. Werder Bremen won, St. Pauli 0. Then at Frankfurt, the chaos that is Frankfurt at the minute, they lost at home 3-0 to Bayern Munich. Then on Sunday, Stuttgart continued their fantastic form with a 1-0 win against Heidenheim. Hamburger beat Mainz 4-0 at home, and Borussia Mönchengladbach, finally they have a clean sheet after all of their miserable weeks. They drew 0-0 against Freiburg. Yes, as I mentioned, only a couple of games to look at. We'll start with Munich, as ever. They scored after 14 seconds through Luis Diaz. Harry Kane added a second just before the half-hour mark, and Luis Diaz got a second with about 5 minutes to go. Munich are looking more and more impressive every single week, aren't they? Looking through the midweek matches as well. Bayern won 5-1, although to be fair, it was Paphos. But still, another couple of goals for Harry Kane. He's putting up some disgusting numbers at the minute, isn't he?
Yeah. You are talking. You are rightly talking about Harry Kane because he's just a freak, to be honest. When he put his feet on the pitch, there is like 99% he will score a goal or two, but
because he scored his 100th goal for the club only a couple of matches ago.
Yeah,
and since then, and that was 100 goals in 104 games, I believe.
Yeah,
and now it's 103 goals in 106. I mean, again, when you sort of see it, it is remarkable at this level.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, Harry Kane is a machine, but the thing is that I have I got the impression when I watch Bayern play that they are a machine in themselves. Company have made them a really strong team and a strong collective. Noted that Jamel Musiala hadn't played this season because he was injured during the Club World Cup. So it's much more impressive given this context. And yeah, we are used to see Bayern like the big favorite of the Bundesliga, like PSG in Liga. But the thing that strikes me when I watch this Bayern team is the impression of how can I say that, of collective power they can deploy. They are impressive, and I think the game against PSG in the Champions League in early November or something, or maybe mid-November, it will be a real test for them, because we all know that this past few seasons they struggled against big oppositions.
If back to because you mentioned the Club World Cup where Musiala got injured, we did mention, because it was the quarter-final, wasn't it? Paris Saint-Germain against Bayern Munich, and we did mention, and it was notable that Bayern were actually scared Paris Saint-Germain. That was quite an even match, and Paris Saint-Germain were perhaps a bit fortunate to get through, although they did also have a red card in the 70th something minute, and then another red card in stoppage time. But also that was like a little taster of Bayern this season. The fact that they have evolved from last season. Last season, when it was the company's sort of first foray into having these players, and now it's like, this seems to be more of a tactical identity as opposed to just essentially being the dominant side with the best players. This now looks like a collective.
Yeah, and you have to remember that last season was the first of Company, as you said. So it was the first time for him to manage such a big team, because he had Anderlecht and Burnley before that. So no disrespect to Burnley and Anderlecht, but going
they're not Munich.
From them to Bayern,
very few clubs are like Munich. Munich have it's often written by journalists in Germany, comparing it to sort of the British media, which is like infamously intense and all that. But Bayern Munich have a level of coverage that isn't even matched by Manchester United, because Munich has basically like 80% of all coverage on every single day. Even if nothing's happened, there will be some stories about Munich.
I think it's a good thing for a coach if he needs to jump into the big deep of a team, to go to Bayern Munich more than Barcelona, Real Madrid, PSG, because or a Premier League club, top Premier League club, because I think they are less talked about in the medias. I don't say that the atmosphere or the context is easier. But when in France, I know we don't really talk about Bundesliga sometimes, about the big names, of course, but the exposition is different than to be at, for instance, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Manchester United. For example, the way Ruben Amorim is talked about and the way Vincent Kompany is, it's not the same thing. Even if Ruben Amorim had a good result with Manchester United, we would talk about him even more. I don't know if I'm clear in my idea, but I think the context of the Bundesliga is good to start in a big team.
Yeah, you make a good point. Quick word on Frankfurt, who have been a very interesting and exciting team for a while. There's exciting, and then there's completely mad. So much like I was asked about Monaco, so the top scorers in the Bundesliga, unsurprisingly, are Bayern Munich. Second top goal scorers are Frankfurt with 17 goals, but they also have the worst defense, conceding 16. So they've got a +1. And when you sort of see their results from the start of the season, 3-1 against Hoffenheim, lost 3-1 to Leverkusen, beat Galatasaray 5-1, lost to Union Berlin 4-3, lost to Atletico Madrid midweek 5-1. Last week, Borussia Mönchengladbach, they beat them 6-4, lost 3-0 to Bayern. These are extraordinary numbers, but it does feel like it's completely unmanageable, like uncontrollable. It does feel like they need something of a reset because defensively they seem to have no structure.
Yeah, but isn't it, Frankfurt, the kind of team you expect when you watch Bundesliga? As you mentioned, a lot of goals scored, a lot of goals conceded, really attacking way of play.
Again, you make a very good point. There's a lot of goals scored, a lot of goals conceded, and there's 6-4. There's two sets of 5-1s, a win and a loss.
6-4, 6-4, and 5-0 at the halftime. Conceded 4 when you are already 6-0 up. It's something unusual for any team in the world, but not in the Bundesliga.
Let's move on to Borussia Dortmund 1, RB Leipzig 1. Like I say, such an even match, and to the extreme where basically all statistics were basically down the line. It was incredible. Does that highlight the fact that these two are very much the teams that are fighting for the next best, as opposed to a legitimate title challenge?
Yeah, and we have to praise Ole Werner for what he did after the terrible first match day defeat from Leipzig, who were defeated 6-0 to Bayern. So now they have racked up 4 wins, and they just tied with Dortmund this weekend. So the fact that they have only 1 game to play per week maybe can maybe explain this, because they got time to work on what they want to do. We do not
a new manager. It's a real turnaround. It's a real,
and
change.
It's a young team also, so they need to work on that. So yeah, and the fact that they just have 1 game every week can make the difference, I think, at the end of the season, because we all know Dortmund can shock in a lot of games. So we will see, but even if they also have a good start to the season with no defeat so far, they got some impressive victory. I just think about the Athletic Club's one in the Champions League, which is really interesting to score 5 against that team. So 4, sorry, yeah. So it will be interesting to see if they can manage to keep this kind of performance.
Well, both, of course, Bayern and Dortmund undefeated in all competitions this season. Yes, Bayern at the top of the Bundesliga with 18 points, 6 wins from 6. Dortmund are second on 14. RB Leipzig are third on 13. Then you got Stuttgart on 12 and Bayer Leverkusen on 11. Heidenheim props them all up with a lowly 3 points, just behind Borussia Mönchengladbach, who are in all sorts of trouble. Let's move on to Serie A. Go over to Italia. Friday, you saw Sassuolo winning at Hellas Verona 1-0. Saturday was fun. The strugglers derby, if you want to call it, Lazio 3, the desperation derby. Lazio 3, Torino 3. Both teams really struggled at the start of the season, but at the end of that game, 2 goals in stoppage time, one in the 13th minute, the 103rd minute of the match.
Yeah.
To level things for Lazio. Parma lost at home to Lecce. Big win for Lecce. The fun is over. Cremonese have lost. They lost at Inter 4-1. But Atalanta's undefeated run goes on. They drew at home to Como 1-1. Then on Sunday, Udinese drew with Cagliari 1-1. Bologna's good form continues with a 4-0 win over Pisa. Fiorentina, big dire straits there for Fiorentina, losing at home to title challengers Roma 2-1. Also, the title defenders, Napoli, winning at home 2-1 against Genoa. And Juventus, another undefeated team, drew 0-0 at home to AC Milan, where Pulisic missed a penalty. Let's start on Saturday, because Lazio 3, Torino 3. We were talking before last week about Torino potentially being in trouble. Lazio, you expected them to pull away because they have a stronger team. But this was a great game. Torino took the lead through Simeone, and then that goal was cancelled by Cancellieri. Thank you very much. In fact, he scored twice before halftime, so 2-1 at halftime. Then Adams equaled for Torino 2-2, and then, like I say, went into stoppage time. Saul Coco, the 3rd minute stoppage time, gave Torino the lead, and as they thought, they had finally had a precious win. Cabaldi, I think it was, in the 13th minute from the penalty spot. Yes, fantastic game, wasn't it? But also, did it feel like desperation? Did it feel like both of these teams really felt like they needed to win this?
Yeah, last week, if I remember correctly, we talked about how Lazio needed to beat their direct rivals to the relegation and to themselves to get some breathing room. But in fact, they didn't manage to against Torino, so it's difficult, especially like as they will travel to Bergame after the international break. They will host Juventus the week after.
So they're playing both the undefeated teams next.
Yeah. So it will be a real test, if we can call it like that, for them. I think after these 2 games, they just have won a tie against Inter and maybe AC Milan, but they got an easier program, we can say. But yeah, they needed that win against Torino. I don't know if you saw the stands of the Olympic Stadium. They were empty. It was quite strange. Yeah, partly empty, to be honest. But yeah, it's quite strange. And you mentioned the brace by Matteo Cancellieri. Really beautiful one. Really beautiful one, to be honest. And which is funny with him, it's that he's a player trained at Roma, so the rival of Lazio, and then he traveled to Verona.
It's this wonderful thing about Italy that you do more than anywhere else, I think, in the world, as best as I know. Crossing city teams and rivalries seems to be just a done thing. Like, there are so many players that have switched between Inter and Milan. There are so many players that have switched between Lazio and Roma.
And Milan and Inter also.
Oh, sorry, I thought I said that one. Yes, absolutely. My apologies. But yeah, so you've had players that have played for both all Milan, Juventus, and Inter. So it's just sort of accepted. It doesn't seem to be such a thing in Italy.
I don't really know about why is it like that, but you are right. I didn't think about that, but you're right. We get some examples, and it's interesting.
Pirlo is the big one I could think.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, Matteo Cancellieri is one of the latest example. I'm trying to find some others in recent times. I don't know, but for example, I know that
Pellegrini.
Yeah,
Because I
Pellegrini.
think the Pellegrini brothers, I think they're both Lazio fans, and yet one plays for
Yeah,
Roma.
and this summer, I know that I read something about Inter being interested in Donnarumma after we knew that he would leave PSG, and he didn't seem close to the idea to go to Inter, even if he was formed at Milan. So it's interesting to see that. But I also think it's more global than that. Like football has evolved, and the feeling of belonging to a club has also in the recent years.
Yeah, but I suppose this is why I highlight Italy specifically, because if you think about Germany, it's less so just because you have a dominant force. So Bayern have historically bought the best players from the rest of Germany, including Dortmund.
Yeah.
But then you look at Spain, like players going between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, absolutely not. Players going between Real Madrid and Barcelona, absolutely not. You look at in England, same thing where you got like vicious rivalries. It's an absolutely big no. Or you
even in
lose
France,
all relationship with the fans you used to play for.
Even in France, when it's impossible, not impossible because there are some, but a player from Lyon to go to Saint-Etienne or the other. I remember Bafetimbi Gomis did that, and he went on in Marseille after that. But for example, Adrien Rabiot was trained at PSG. He joined Marseille last season. And when he came back to Parc des Princes, even with the French team, he was injured. Not injured, sorry. Booed by the fans of France. So it's kind of hard, to be honest. But
I mean,
you're right.
The best example I ever, the most memorable example I can always remember is Luis Figo moving from Barcelona to Real Madrid, and the Barcelona fans throwing the pig's head on the pitch. And,
I remember.
We've gone off topic slightly, but yes. So let's go to Inter. Inter defeating the mighty Cremonese 4-1. Bonni, wonderful performance, a goal and a hat trick of assists. He also laid off goals for Martinez, Di Marco, and Barella before Cremonese got a late consolation goal. Inter haven't quite seemed to have got the consistency yet, but they proved that they do have the firepower to just put away teams.
Yeah, Inter, as you said, they are beginning to be convincing. Because we need to recall that they changed their manager this summer, from passing from Simone Inzaghi to Chivu. So it's completely different. They have to adapt to a new way of a new style of play, new manager, because we all know the work Inzaghi made with Inter, leading them to Champions League final, to Serie A title, impressive. And yeah, since the start of the season, they just lost to, I think, Juventus in the 4-3 and maybe one of the game I remember, but they are convincing. They won their first 2 games in the Champions League. They don't concede a lot of goals. They're very interesting. Boni, you talked about him. Impressive performance to
It's also, it must be quite intimidating. Sorry again to interrupt, but it's quite intimidating.
No
obviously,
problem,
when you have a strike partnership between Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram, to come in as another attacker to try and not necessarily supplant them, but you are relatively competing with them because they still play with sort of a front two.
But because I think
he seems to be rotating with them really well.
Yeah, because I think Boni is got a Thuram-like style of play, so it's easier to move things on his offensive line. Martinez is still still is the front man of Inter, but having two players, of course, Thuram is more experienced. I think he's evolving at a better level than Bonny, but it's like a luxury for a coach to have two players similarly kind of similar when we talk about profile, and we can play in attack with both with two strikers. It's interesting for the rotation.
Quick word on a couple of matches. Roma beating Fiorentina 2-1. So the top of the table at Serie A, you've got Napoli and Roma on 15 points. You got AC Milan on 13, then you got Inter and Juventus on 12, Juve being undefeated. Atalanta beneath them on 10 points. They're also undefeated. It's quite strange to think of undefeated team being sixth. So with only 10 points, they've only won twice, but 4 draws. So Atalanta, incredible consistency. But yes, Roma currently second place, another victory. They seem to have gone under the radar at the start of the season. I think perhaps Gasparini's never really maintained a legitimate title challenge. This could be it.
Yeah, they have a real interesting start to the season, to say the least. There was the setback against Torino. We mentioned it last week. They lost to Lille this week in the Europa League, in a pretty crazy scenario, because I was thinking about you when watching it. Have you ever seen a goalkeeper?
Those of you who didn't see,
Yeah.
Dovbyk. So Roma were awarded a penalty. Who was it against? Sorry.
The goalkeeper of Lille.
No. What? Sorry, was it Lille?
Yeah, it was Lille.
So Roma had a penalty awarded. Dovbyk steps up, and the ball is saved. And then the defender managed to clear it. It's then ordered as a retake because the defender was adjudged to have encroached in the penalty area, and he was the first one to clear it. So therefore, the retake happens. Dovbyk steps up. I'll be honest, it was a terrible first penalty. The second penalty, almost identically bad, which was also saved. But this time, the referee judged, or rather VAR judged, that the keeper had come off his line, which I always think is slightly unfair when the person taking the penalty stutters. Because surely if you stutter, then that should allow. I think that should mean the keeper can come off the line. By the way, so it's to get third time. They changed penalty takers for Sule, I think it was. Sule stepped up, went the other way, and the keeper still saved it. So astonishing. 3 penalties for the exact same penalty award, and all of them saved. Oh yeah, insane. Absolutely crazy. Quick word on Fiorentina, who currently sit outside the penalty, outside of the relegation zone on point difference alone. You would be really concerned for Fiorentina, wouldn't you?
It's pretty crazy, to be honest. If we remember, they were playing a European Cup semi-final 4 months ago against.
Well, they've actually so they reached 4 finals in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Like and 2 Italian Cups, 2 Conference League finals, I think.
Yeah, and now I don't really feel that they have weakened this transfer window. To be honest, quite the contrary. They invested a lot on players. They spent approximately 100 million. I think it was 90, but 90, 100. It's a lot. Even more in Italian football. I think I don't remember a lot of Italian teams distinguish themselves by spending that amount of money. So yeah, it's quite difficult for them, and obviously not enough.
And finally, quick word, because we're running over time for we've still got to get through 2 leagues. Finally, defending champions Napoli winning 2-1 for the second time this week. Rasmus Højlund getting his 4th goal in 8 days. He seems to be rejuvenated, which is unsurprising. You leave Manchester United, you immediately get better.
Yeah, I think he's now relieved from the Manchester United's curse. It's something we saw we already saw with other players, and I'm
Mm.
sure for like a player like Joshua Zirkzee, when he will leave Manchester United, he will be a goal machine elsewhere. I don't know where, but yeah.
Well, I mean, to be fair to Joshua Zirkzee, like not necessarily a goal machine, but he was the link-up player, right? I think this is one of the problems where, like Rasmus Højlund, it's always seemed a bit unfair, particularly in him, because he arrived so young. Like he was 20 when he was bought, I think, 2021, for such a high fee. It was always going to take time, and yet he wasn't given time, and nor was he given a system which worked to his strengths.
But the thing is also that I think Rasmus Højlund style of play is adapted to Serie A. He got to this Serie A or this first games for him, because we saw that he got spaces, which is quite strange when you talk about Serie A. You think about strong defenses, Catenaccio, and everything. Even if it has changed since the last 30 years, but yeah, he got more spaces maybe than in Premier
and less
League.
pressure, sort of less pressure both physically from defenders and less pressure from
Kevin De Bruyne Kevin De Bruyne
behind
him,
De Bruyne, of course. You've got a good midfielder. Yeah. Okay, we need to move on. We've spent too much time. Okay, we have to give 10 minutes to cover the whole of La Liga. Right, on Friday in La Liga, Osasuna beat Getafe 2-1. A goal in first half stoppage time and second half stoppage time for Osasuna. Real Oviedo lost at home 2-0 to Levante. Girona finally got a win.
Finally.
Their first win of the season. They beat Valencia 2-1. How? I genuinely don't know. We'll briefly go over that. Athletic Club beat Mallorca 2-1. Real Madrid beating Villarreal 3-1. Villarreal obviously having a wonderful start to the season, but losing to the Giants. Alaves got an impressive result 3-1 against Elche. Elche finally lose a match this season. The big result of the weekend, obviously, Sevilla 4, Barcelona 1, an astonishing result. Again, how did Barcelona lose? We're not entirely sure. We'll go over it. Espanyol lost at home to Real Betis 2-1. Real Betis coming from behind to win that one. Real Sociedad's worries continued. They lost at home to Rayo Vallecano 1-0.
At home.
And at home, yes. And Celta Vigo drew 1-1 with Atletico Madrid, who had a man sent off in the first half. Again, Longley, 2 yellow cards in 40 minutes, driving mad. Let's start with Sevilla and Barcelona. So Sevilla were winning 2-0 start. So penalty from Sanchez. Romeo scored in the 37th minute. Marcus Rashford pulled them back just for half time with a glorious volley. Beautiful volley.
Yeah.
And then Barcelona then somehow proceeded to miss chance after chance after chance. I feel a bit bad for the youngster, Rooney Baji, the Swedish winger, because he missed 2 really
great opportunities.
And you've got to feel bad for him. And then Sevilla, through a couple of counterattacks, scored in the 90th minute and then again in the 6th minute of stoppage time. So slightly misleading 4-1 result. But there are 2 things to discuss. One, is this Barcelona's fault really for not being clinical? But secondly, was this evidence of the flaws in Barcelona's system? And a very interesting article was posted, I think, on The Athletic yesterday about how Sevilla were doing what Harry Kane does, which is having a striker stand in an offside position. But you just don't play him the ball. You play it to the winger. And then when the winger plays it to the striker, he's then offside.
Yeah. First, I think it should be noted that in this game there is a big turning point, which in my opinion is the missed penalty by Robert Lewandowski.
I completely forgot about that. Lewandowski missed the penalty as well.
Because at 2-2, I think at 2-2, I think Barcelona would have won this game, because we saw that last season the amount of games they have won after being trailed, it was impressive. But yeah, he missed that penalty. It was not a stop by the goal. He just missed it. And then Sevilla put some. To be honest, they won 4-1, but I think they could have scored more in the first half, especially. And I particularly appreciated the speech by the coach manager, Matias Almeida. He said that against Barcelona, if you wait for them, you will lose because they like to have the possession. They like to have the time to build up. But when you go and you play against Barcelona, you have chances to win those games, and I think it's exactly what happened. You talked about the eye line setup. I think it's part of the problem, but not the only problem. We can talk about
I mean, we should
pressure.
also have the caveat that, like we say, problem. Like Barcelona did win
Yeah,
the title last year and
yeah,
were
of course.
seconds away from going to the Champions League final. You know, this isn't a big problem. It's just like
No,
there is a flaw that certain teams have the ability to exploit.
yeah. I think the biggest problem for Barcelona right now is the way they press their opponents. They struggle to do it, to be honest. And I think this is more of a problem than the eye line, as you said. They won titles last season with that, but the thing is that they need to press more and more in a way that they are more effective, in my opinion.
Mm. You also feel like with Lewandowski, as wonderful a striker as he is and has been, he has missed. I think that's 3 misses in his last 6 or 7 penalties. So perhaps it's time that like there are other players in that squad who
Yeah,
take penalties very well. But also, like
Marcus
you say,
Rashford, for example,
but then you
he's a
talk about the pressing. It does feel like with Lewandowski having 18 months left on his contract, I think it is. Perhaps this is the last season of Lewandowski leading the line for Barcelona.
yeah, it is.
Um, you get the feeling that if an offer came in from, example, Saudi Arabia or something like that, having the ability to take his significant wages off the books would also be helpful. We have to move on because we've only got another few minutes to do the rest of La Liga. Quick word on Real Madrid: 3, Villarreal 1. It was 0-0 at half time, but then Vinicius Junior scored in the second minute of the second half. He also extended the lead from the penalty spots. Villarreal did pull a goal back through Mikladze with about 20 minutes to go, but then Mourinho, not that one. Mourinho got sent off for a second yellow card, and which eventually let Real Madrid find a third through Mbappe. Another solid performance from Real Madrid.
Yeah,
They're just doing enough, aren't they? It's a strange situation because it doesn't seem they have an obvious tactical identity.
no,
We were talking about Bayern Munich last season, sort of like clearly the strength of the players means this will work regardless to a certain extent. But it does feel like they have yet to find that shape, proper the relationships between the players. And of course, they've had significant players missing as well. So, for example, Trent Alexander-Arnold not be able to offer his passing lanes from right back, or Jude Bellingham's only recently come back into the team.
yeah. Firstly, I think this game was much more important than the one in the Champions League against Almaty this week because they lost to Atletico last weekend 5-2, which was really embarrassing, to be honest. And yeah, it was not an impressive victory against Villarreal. I think it's kind of polemical to have seen Mourinho sent off after the second yellow card. I can't understand it. But the thing is that when you get some players like Kylian Mbappe, who scored another goal, assist another one, his story is to 13 goals and to assist in his last nine games now. So it's ridiculous. Vinicius seems to slowly starting to find his legs back. He scored twice this weekend. We saw Kylian Mbappe let him a penalty. So it's we will say that it's a good thing for the relationship. So yeah, they are not impressing, but they just managed to win their games, and that's maybe the most important.
Quick word for a couple of them. Quick word on Atletico Madrid. They've had a return to form recently, but drawing 1-1 at Celta Vigo. They led in the 6th minute through a Starfelt own goal, but Longley's against red card for a second yellow in the first half. I mean, that kind of, you could kind of forgive them. As far as bad results go, this isn't one of them. 1-1 draw when you're down to 10 men for an entire half of football.
Yeah, they have not won a single game away this season in La Liga. So they lost 12 points after having be up on the score sheet. So
it does seem a shame as well that
underestimating.
Longley got sent off, because Atletico's return to form has been very good fun. Because before this match, they'd scored 13 goals in 3 matches. And obviously, Julian Alvarez has played such a significant part of that. Yeah, he scored 1 goal, 2 assists. Oh no, so 6 goals and 3 assists in 3 games, which is crazy. But yeah,
it's crazy.
but obviously having a red card in this game sort of scuppers that slightly. And final word. So looking at the La Liga table, so Real Madrid lead on 21, Barcelona second on 19. They finally lost their undefeated tag, as did Elche. Sad. Then you have Villarreal on 16, Real Betis on 15. But going down to the bottom of the table, you now have Mallorca on 5, behind Real Sociedad on goal difference alone. That is an issue. Now, Girona are still in the relegation zone, leapfrogging them on to 6 points. Girona's problems we're aware of, but Real Sociedad, this can't be ignored anymore. There's an international break. Do you expect to change? Because this is not good enough.
No, it's not good enough, as you said, but there are 6 points. There are 2 teams also with 6 points, and I just have the table under my eyes, and it's incredible to see that Celta haven't won a single game, but they made 6 draws.
Yeah. So you could turn that around. The fact that they've only lost 1 match. They've only lost 1 match.
So 6 points from 6 draws, okay, and they are 16. Girona, we've talked about who the first manager the first manager to be sacked will be. I think it will be against between Girona and Real Sociedad, because Real Sociedad situation is also quite difficult to say the least.
Sorry, I should correct myself. They lost 2 matches because La Liga have played 8 matches, unlike Premier League 7. Speaking of the Premier League, let's go there now. I've only got 5 minutes to cover the entire Premier League. If you want to know all the details about the Premier League, all the really good stuff, read my article that was published yesterday. For the results on Friday, Bournemouth came from behind to beat Fulham 3-1 and temporarily go second in the table. Incredible job for Iraola at Bournemouth. On Saturday, Leeds United lost at home to Spurs. Spurs sneakily still there in 3rd place with a 2-1 victory. Arsenal, spoiler alert, they're in the lead. They've now taken the lead of the Premier League after winning 2-0 against West Ham. Manchester United, they won a match against home to Sunderland, 2-0. They're still happening. Chelsea defeated Liverpool 2-1. That was quite a fun, but mostly a fun second half. But Esteval, scoring in the last minute stoppage time. Liverpool's 3rd loss in 8 days. On Sunday, Aston Villa continued their rebuild, 4 wins on the trot in all competitions, 2-1 against Burnley. Everton 2, Crystal Palace 1. Crystal Palace finally losing a match for the first time in 173 days. The last time they lost was 5-0 at Newcastle United on April the 16th, 17th, something like that. But yes, and also you've got to say, like, they're a bit unfortunate to lose because actually they played very, very well. Jack Grealish getting the goal, his first Everton goal in stoppage time. Speaking of Newcastle, they beat Nottingham Forest 2-0 to continue the pressure on Ange Postecoglou, who is still yet to win a match in charge of Nottingham Forest. Wolverhampton Wanderers still waiting for their first win as well. They drew 1-1 against Brighton. Small heartbreak because Brighton scored an equaliser with only 5 minutes to go. And Brentford lost at home to Manchester City 1-0. We'll start there, I think, because yes, Manchester City won 1-0. They managed to get through the match. Haaland scored I would describe as a world-class centre-forward goal, mostly because of just how powerful he was. But the big thing with this game was Rodri going off with what looks like a serious injury.
Once again.
once again. And
Yeah.
Guardiola said after the match, like, this is why we were being delicate with him. Obviously, we all hope that this is not a serious thing. We all hope that, even though inevitably this is going to be like several weeks at least, but we hope it's weeks rather than months. But also, on a bigger point, this could be Manchester City season, essentially. So much of their tactical identity revolves around Rodri being available, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's a shame to see him injured once again, as you said. We, of course, we hope he's not injured too badly. You talked about Erling Haaland a few seconds ago. Impressive goals, all in. He's just like a buffalo when he's on the pitch. He's too powerful. It's impressive. You saw the way he resists to the defender with his back, and then just push him and scored. I saw his 2 goals against Monaco in the Champions League. Also, like it was Zlatan style, the header and then the kick over the head. He just knows how to score goals in every thinkable position. Uh, yeah, what to say more? Just
I mean, what can
impressive.
you say? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Quick word on, so looking at the table, I'm sort of highlighting. A quick word on Bournemouth. Again, they are in 4th place. So Manchester City are 5th. Bournemouth are 4th. You forget that this season they lost 4-1 at Manchester United. Because apart from that, they've been genuinely astonishing. Semenyo was described as possibly the best player in the league right now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I saw an article from The Athletic asking, is Semenyo the best player in the league right now? And I didn't have the time to read it yet, but I will do it. But to be honest, it's impressive to see this player in that form. We have to give credits to Andoni Raola for everything he did with Bournemouth.
But also,
Impressive.
we have
also
to give credit for because that kind of player would probably only excel in well, not necessarily in this system, but say like in quite attacking high intensity system, right? This is one of the reasons why he looks so good, because he is the sort of player that suits this. It's also kind of remarkable that considering how many players left Bournemouth last summer, particularly basically 3 of their 4 back line, they've actually been fine. I suppose because they defend from the front more or less, so like it's less of an issue. But also, Semenyo was linked with moves away to some big clubs, and he decided to sign a new contract instead, which also speaks volumes about his faith in this project.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It just shows that we were talking sooner about the project at AS Monaco, but it's just the emphasizement of the project of Bournemouth. If your players believe in it, it will, in much of the case, will work. And we can see that they are with the manager who is doing a tremendous job at Bournemouth, Andoni Raola. And I think everyone thinks they can do great things with him, and that's why it works for them.
Quick word on Spurs, because we really only have a few minutes left. Again, the fact that it seems like they've not really clicked either. Obviously, new system, new manager, all of that, right? However, they've not looked sort of like a proper coherent unit as such, minus their performance against Manchester City and perhaps against Paris Saint-Germain in the Super Cup. And yet, more often than not, they do find results. So being 3rd place, only 2 points behind leaders Arsenal. I mean, you got to say, so far, despite not overwhelming with success, they have been consistently successful. If that makes sense. Have you been impressed with them, or like, is this like a big thumbs up so far to the project?
Yeah, I think this is a big thumbs up. To come back to the games of this weekend, we can just say that the 2 goals were magnificent, especially the one from Matisse Tel. But the thing is that it's true they haven't faced a big opposition since the start of the season. You mentioned the Manchester City game that they have won at Etihad 2-0. 2-0, is it? But they
Yes.
didn't play yet against Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal.
Yeah, their fixtures have been a bit kinder, haven't they?
Yeah,
but the fact is they are still third. They are.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Bournemouth, even if I respect them as a top club in the Premier League, as are Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United, Manchester City, of course, an established club, and they have lost to Bournemouth. In fact, they have lost to Bournemouth. But yeah, I think we will wait just a little bit against tougher oppositions to really judge their level.
Yeah. Right. I mean, sadly we have to start. We've run out of time. If you want to know more about the action in the Premier League, like I say, do read my article that I posted yesterday, particularly for in-depth look at the Bournemouth Fulham game, Chelsea Liverpool, and Everton Crystal Palace. But before we go, the last word on Manchester United 2, Sunderland 0. Because I was a bit curious about this. We didn't have time to talk about Nottingham Forest thinking about that, Trace. Never mind. Anyway, I wanted to do some research. Where have I? Oh, I've lost it. There you go. Right. Yes, I had to, because we were talking about this last week about Ruben Amorim, because it was his 50th match in charge when they won against Sunderland, and that is 20 victories, 21 losses, and 9 draws. So pretty poor, generally speaking.
Yeah.
However, here's your question: how many of those 19 matches that they've won, how many of those were against 11 men? Because there was a strange period of time when Manchester United seemed to only win against teams that had a man dismissed. So your question is, of those 19 victories in charge of Manchester United, 20 victories in charge of Manchester United. Yeah. How many of those were won against 11 men?
That's a tough question, to be honest. That's not something I can cheat about on the internet right now. No. Let me think. I think it's about 12 or 13 victory.
It's close. It's 14.
Oh.
So you think about it, they've, like, in all 50 matches, they've only won 14 matches. When it's 11, it's 11. And actually, I've got a list of the teams they've beaten in that time. Again, this is not teams that went down to 10 men. So you'll see a theme with this, because a lot of it involves the Europa League. Bodo Glimt, Everton, Victoria Pilsen, Manchester City, legitimately good performance. Southampton, who got relegated. Rangers, Fulham, Steaua Bucharest, Leicester City, who got relegated. Ipswich Town, who got relegated. Leicester City again, who got relegated. Athletic Club, and now this season, West Ham United, who are currently in the relegation spot. Bournemouth, that was a good result. Burnley, who are a promoted team, and Sunderland, who are a promoted team. So, of all the matches...
What are you trying to say, Daniel?
I suppose what I'm saying is that you can only beat what's in front of you. So therefore saying, like, if a team goes down to 10 men, it's a bit unfair to take away like 5 of those or 6 of those victories, however many it was. But they also, so like those red cards came in, like Real Sociedad, again, the Europa League, it's round of 16, Real Sociedad, which kind of affected the result, against Lyon. Of course, that went to the mad 5-4 final score. Against Bournemouth, although that only went back to a draw. Athletic Club, the semi-final of the Europa League, they went down to 10 men very early on. Aston Villa, Chelsea, so they do win these matches, but they were, at the time of the red card, they were either losing them or drawing them. But I suppose that what I was highlighting in all the teams that they beat with 11 men, 2 of them were impressive results, like Bournemouth and Manchester City. The rest were relegated sides or teams in the Europa League, more or less.
The most important is to seize the opportunity when
you're right. A win is a win. We have to stop there. Thank you so much, everybody. Basically, that was.
Thank you, Daniel.
That was me trolling Sean. I'm hoping he's watching. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Make sure you follow us on all the social medias. Make sure you go on Sports Talk United and read the articles. Read any article, but also the one specifically covering all the stories and matches we talk about today. We are off next week because it's the international break. Huzzah! But thank you so much for joining us, Leo.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, everyone. See you in 2 weeks.
Those who've been watching us again, and I will see you in a couple of weeks. Goodbye, everyone.